All right. So you're listening to Luis Belvo's Real Talk. I'm here with Zackary Parson, my dude of over 2 decades of friendship. And I am very happy to have you on the show as well as we're trying something else. This is actually, it's a video conversation. So we're going to, let's be real, is something I actually want to test run right here, right now. So you're the test run, Zach. I appreciate you, bro. Like a lot.
It
Thank you
is
for
a
being here.
privilege to be on your
Yes.
podcast.
So let's this is the big question, like with anybody even asking, like what have you been up to? Where have you been and how's life? And take your time.
Uh, been busy. So I moved from Arizona to North Carolina,
Mhm.
and you know, juicy story in between. But there'll be another conversation for another day.
Yeah. It's
Went to
not let's be too
college.
real. Let's be real.
Huh?
let's
Is it
be
what?
it's not let's be too real. Let's be real.
Let's be real. Yeah, got my GED, and then I got set up with college. So I was at Livingston College from 2012 to 2016.
How old were you when you left?
18,
18, and you're how old now?
27,
27.
almost 10 years, man.
Almost 10 years, bro. Like wow.
Yeah. Let me see. Graduated in 2016, got a job at the institution as well.
Yes.
And I got another job position later on at the institution, just in a different department.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely growing experiences in between, but obviously it's what you do with the time. Because,
Uh-huh.
some people say time heals all wounds, but if you don't do something with the time, then it heals just to kind of get infected
Yeah.
and stay infected. So, um, but I thank the Lord. Definitely was my strength and my rock in those times.
Yeah.
And as of right now, I think I'm in a good position for just branching out on another adventure, another journey.
Yes.
And it's going to be a different one, but it's going to be a one that's needed in this time, you know.
For that. Yeah.
So I'm doing good, bro. What
Heck,
about you, man?
I'm swell, dog. I'm dandy. I've been through this last couple months have been a roller coaster of emotions and like
Mhm.
drama, I guess would be like the best way. Where there are opportunities to be dramatic, but I guess being a moviegoer, I'm used to watching the drama, so I'd rather watch it than like participate. I
Right.
had a cancer scare
Mhm.
in October, and then I'm solid. It was various like tests and stuff, but like I'm good. Uh, I don't even know where to like start with you. Like when it comes to like what have I been up to? I've been transitioning in and out of work. I knew this year I wanted to take a break from just being a workaholic because I know my
Mhm.
vices. But what does that look like? What kind of steps do I need to take to even get to like that point of what I'm even imagining? And then asking myself, well, what are you even imagining that looks like, Lou? Like if you want to not work as much, what are you doing instead? And my mind
Mhm.
goes to like, well, what's the plan? Um, but like we talked earlier today, I'm overthinking things. So like uh trademark Louis Bellows real talk.
Trademark. Trademark.
Listen, this is what, but I'm overthinking things, meaning like I'm just tired of like going through like those motions multiple times in my head before action even takes place. So I'm trying to lean more towards on action
Mhm.
first, um, and then work with the process because I've learned, even regardless of how much like I think too much, um, things either always fall into place or fall apart, right? And either way, you have to go through that process of one of those scenarios unfolding. So if I know the fact that no matter what, I have to go through this process, then I want to intentionally go through this process leaning with my like foot forward in action over
Mhm.
thought. I've recognized what thought looks like first, but this season in like life, I want to experience action. And then
Mhm.
be able to think about it, because thought always follows. One follows the other as you step, you know what I mean? But like, that's how I'm going about this year. And I think with how it's been like unfolding and it being 2020, where everybody's really not having a good time, it was the perfect time for me to decide to do something like this with like my life. Because like if I had thought any other year to do this, you know, and this is where God's good, like Lord, like your will, like I'm just trying to stop, pray, listen, breathe, you know what I mean? And in
Mhm.
that moment, like in those moments, that's when I recognize this is a plan of action. So the plan has already been thought out, with me being already naturally like always like a thinker or an observer
Mhm.
or a watcher or a listener. To most friends and stuff will recognize me as that. But as I'm stepping into this year, it's that year of like action, where I'm moving forward, where I'm taking with me what I know, or I'm sharing what I got, or I'm stepping into who I see myself becoming in that direction, in that route, over thinking of taking those steps. Where this is a strange, I think, year to do it, because this is where everyone's taking that opposite step, you know? Um, and I'm not generalizing everybody, but the vibe I'm feeling a lot just in the atmosphere and like on social media, and just like talking to people and like seeing certain like posts and stuff, I'm recognizing this is the year where people, man, we got to sit back and actually think about like life and stuff. Like 2020 shut us down, we were quarantined, we had to figure it out. Where me, I'm like, oh man, leading up to 2020, I was in this mindset, you know, like from me, like honestly, like 2017 to 2020 was me in this thinking, while by remaining intentional, where my actions are more delegated and stuff. But
Mhm.
as I'm moving in 2021, because the year's almost over, but following
Mhm.
this year, was mostly stepping forward in action, which means being more bold in
Mhm.
whatever like I'm doing, being more outspoken with whatever I'm thinking, broadcasting more on social media, because that's just how um, that's society. Because at the same time, I'm not going to complain. Like me and my brother actually talked about this with like the internet being like a monster or whatever, or like a distraction. That obviously is firstly created to be like a tool. And this
Mhm.
tool, me recognizing it as such, I want to use it properly. Otherwise, you
Mhm.
know, if you don't do things properly, people can get hurt. We've seen this like on so many different levels on the platform of any social media, where people take advantage of it, or they use it wrong, or they didn't finish what they started, or like things like that nature. And when I look at it, and especially already like being in the process of letting people see me first, like as more so like Wallflower Lou, where I'm your homie, I'm your friend, I'm here for you no matter what. Like I got your back, and that's some like a lot of like friendly situations I get myself into. I'm like I was like the Roger from American Dad for a minute, like just like with families. I actually for real, like and I'm like I'm usually like there for you and stuff, and I'm still 100% like that person. But in this season of my life, recognizing like what I can bring to the table when I delegate through thought first, I
Mhm.
want to now know what dishes I can serve when I'm leaning on action, because this is
Mhm.
never goes away, it simply follows. So I'm allowing these actions to take turns. So, or these processes to take turns, a process of moving in action or the process of moving in thought. You know what I mean? Because either way you're moving, because
Okay.
nothing ever stops. You know what I mean? So as I'm being more intentional this year, it's more in action, because in the last couple of years it was in thought, because I recognized the what's the word I'm looking for? One different type of attention, because as I'm truly it was in like a transition period between like who I was and who I am. The early beginnings of that started like the end of like my marriage and stuff, and that's just being real. You know, let's be
Mhm.
real. Like that's where old Lou had to meet new Lou, and we had to be like reacquainted and stuff. But that relationship needs time to grow, needs time to build, just like anything. You need to water it. So as I'm watering this, it's mostly in thought, because I'm always wondering, like, I wonder what this is going to look like when it grows. But now, as I see this growth, and this is wild, I'm talking about this because actually I never actually said this out loud. So now, as I see this growth start to like grow,
Mhm.
I'm confident in it, which is what changes my actions as I am like now continuing to
Mhm.
obviously water myself. I recognize the support is necessary, needed, and works. But now I'm leaning more on action. What can I do next? Because I'm confident this will continue to grow. So thought, being there to hope, to see what happens, discover, unfold, learn, whatever like you want to call it, like really just analyzing. Season is just following the action this season. So I'm saying yes to more things. I think that's one thing that stops a lot of us is we say no before we say yes, and that includes good things. Like we want their friends ask you to go out to go eat and stuff, and you say no. And then your no is usually followed by like whatever reason you want to give it. You know, I don't have any money. I don't want to finish watching my TV show, or like I'm lazy today, or I don't like how I look. You know, you get like these sort of like no's that come with kind of like opinion, BS like reasons as to why, especially if your no is hung on to a secret yes, where like you did want to go, you didn't want to say no, you were totally down, but something stopped you. And that's where your no came from, because you're adjusted to saying no more than you say yes. And as I'm recognizing this behavior, not just outside of myself, but mostly inside of myself, because I'm chilling at my room watching Bob's Burgers and stuff, I get a Snapchat or text from somebody, be like, hey, you want to go get some food? And I'd be like, no. But then like later, as I'm watching through the episode, I'm like bored. And I'm like, why am I bored? You know, I had an opportunity and I said no to it, but like I wanted to say yes. So I think a lot of us, and that's just an example, you know what I mean? A lot of us, we want to say yes to a lot more because we find ourselves being kind of bored with life. We're miserable, or we're sad, or we feel lonely, or we feel like nobody cares and stuff. But that's, I think, because we've done so much pushing, so much like knowing, like N-O-ing, that like it's what we expect. And if it's what we expect, then it's what we're gonna get. And that's where you fall into like that trap of like what's normal nowadays. That's normal. That doesn't even sound like a big deal sort of like scenario, but that loop-de-loop right there is so
you're talking about the habit in itself.
habit. Exactly. It's so common that like if you are at any point in time feeling like something is off, you're like, why? If you really look at your habits, the answer to your why is in there, and a lot of time it's from your nose. There's nothing wrong with saying no. Please say no.
Yeah.
But what
exercise your rights.
100%. But what I'm saying is like life wants you to say yes more often because you need to, one, trust yourself. Maybe you don't trust yourself enough to say yes. Maybe you don't trust like your luck because, you know, just never has like worked out or anything. You know what I mean? Maybe you don't trust other people when you give them your yes. Maybe your yes has been like a piece of paper and then it was like crumbled up and like thrown away, and people are like, they don't care. It's trash now. Like, that was your yes. That was something that was hard for you to put out there and like be like, I'm down. And then you get the text like 2 minutes later, never mind. Or actually, I'm going to go with so and so, or something like that. And then you're devastated, and then you're crumbled. But this still works. Like I can still read this. I don't remember what it says exactly. It's kind of chicken scratch. That's because of my bad handwriting, not because of the point I was trying to make. But my real point is like, we're so scared now. We're so scared, and no's are easy. And then because we're starting with no's, that's where everybody now, and not everybody, but the vibe I'm catching is everybody is falling into this thought process. It's and then the thought step, which there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I found myself to be there a little longer than I had expected. I have no regrets. I'm happy to be stepping now into like action. But this is where I find the majority has been for a minute. And I'm like, in the time of most discomfort for like the nation, I find myself comfortable. You know what I mean? Because I'm used to that. And so now with that, I can step forward in action while everyone else falls into thought. But it supports each other. because when you got some people moving in action and others now retreating in thought, which is, I say retreat, but that's it's not negative. It's just another process. You know what I mean? You have to accept where you're at. You know what I mean? Take where, like, if you're in action right now, good, good for you. I really hope you recognize that and do something with what's happening in your life currently. If you're in thought right now, good. I hope you do
Maybe
that and you like actually like move forward in like that continuously, because I know I did. I recognize all the value that can come from this place, as much value as can come from this place. You know what I mean? But I
right.
know myself as a whole, once like, I recognize my no's where they're going, I recognize my yeses, I'm more identifying my characters, just who I am, like as a person, Lou, finding Lou and stuff. These two come together, and that's where I'm at right now. It's uncomfortable, but it's like they're coming together. So then what happens next is the best part. You know what I mean? I don't know what it looks like yet.
Results.
Results. Thought, action, results, fire.
Right.
That's good. So,
Fire.
yes.
Yeah. And as far as you said, instead of the word retreat, you can use the word of enter. Now they're entering into, the thought process.
Mhm.
A lot of people been, years of spending of set, making these decisions without actually evaluating.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it comes with the results that they did not like. And sometimes some people, instead of entering into, okay, let's think about how this worked out, how this didn't work out, what I could have done, what I should have done, or
Right.
da 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 da. Sometimes people enter in a zone of bitterness, and then they forsake certain sacrifices or certain decisions.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, that forsaking of action doesn't result in results
Yes.
that they wanted.
Exactly.
So,
Yes, 100%.
yeah. And then with as far as that season that you were talking about, as far as sacrifices, it's like or making, it's now time for decisions, throughout the years. And I'm gonna use this words for this scenario, so it's gonna be, I guess, interesting in the way that I say it.
Yeah.
But for a certain period of time, you have been guilty of analyzing,
Yes.
breaking down,
Mhm.
and observing things, whether
Yeah.
it be people, whether it be circumstances. And sometimes people have a certain agreement with being guilty with certain things, right? Or
Mhm.
satisfied with being guilty. Just follow me here.
I feel it. Yeah.
But now you're finding that the fact that you are at a mature place of being guilty of doing that, to
Yeah.
now that your heart is longing
Mhm.
for results, because you can be good at analyzing, but analyzing without action,
Yeah.
you'll never taste the food. You'll
100%.
never taste it. You'll remember, you'll think about what it could taste like, or this, that, and the third, da, 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 da. But
Green.
now you'll find, now there's a certain place in you that's deprived.
Come on. That's it.
And now your actions can result in you receiving that experience,
Mhm.
that result, right? But as you said, it goes hand in hand. Your analytical skills and your actions, they have a relationship in themselves, because now that you've had this ability to analyze and observe, now when you take action, there's sometimes your experience will give you a lesson that your thought process in itself, or isolated,
Yeah.
can't give you as vividly, right?
Yes.
So you find out that when you start to take action in a certain aspect, you're going to get like 3 years of experience in that action,
Mhm.
versus 6 years it would take you if you were just thinking
Facts.
in yourself,
100%.
So it's like, now it's making those decisions. And the thing with, as you said, overthinking, with taking action, there is risk that
100%.
they say, right?
Mhm.
But the thing is, with that risk that you're taking, it's that investment.
Mhm.
You're sacrificing this time to invest that time here, right?
Yeah.
It's a sacrifice you're willing to make not everything is guaranteed, and because it's not guaranteed, they're saying, oh, there's a potential risk
Right.
and a fruitfulness or result not occurring, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's where your taste buds say as well, well, that sacrifice, I'm not going to let it intimidate me because I want the result.
Because I want the result.
Because I want the result.
Mm-hmm.
So if I got to kick down this door and it's empty, I'm going to go and kick in that wall
100%.
because I want the result. I'm good where I'm at,
Content.
right? I am content.
Yeah.
But I am exchanging some things.
100%.
I'm grateful, but I'm going to acquire. I'm thankful, but I'm going to acquire. Just because I'm going to acquire does not mean I'm not thankful.
100%. You're using it.
Right. And so I think that season that you're describing is also a season I'm in as well. You know.
Come on.
So and though you're grateful, you know that certain things in certain seasons cannot cater to certain things connected to your life.
100%.
Certain things can, as they say, just because you can water your yard with your own hose doesn't mean you can water your city.
Yeah.
Because your hose is only so long.
It's only so long. Right.
And so that's why it's time to make these different decisions, and these different decisions result in different sacrifices. These different sacrifices mean different risks, but these different risks don't compare to the results that we're trying to acquire.
Which begins in that, which my apologies, which begins in that step of taking the thought to even water that plant. And the action comes from the growth of watching what happens, which builds that confidence to then move on and water the city, like you said. You know what I mean? But it has to start somewhere. And the best place, especially, is to build, and that's not confidence that's growing, to be honest. That's compassion that's growing, because you're building this relationship with this thing that then you then grow to love. And if you also think about plants, they're like alive. You could talk to them, love them, nurture them, and then they grow more. It's the same as like your spirit on the inside. You have to water it. You have to build that relationship. You have to root it on. You have to listen for it. But then at the same time, once you're doing it and you're watching that growth, you are recognizing a new compassion within yourself for it, for yourself. And that compassion leads you to walk out the door and do what you need to do next, because you're confident in what's going on there, because you recognize what the steps it takes, what it looks like, what it means to do that. You know what I mean? That see it to believe it. We talked about seeing it to believe it a couple times too.
Yeah, I think that there's there is places in which we can be content. But though we can be content, there is this underlining requirement that's unmet.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's powerful to recognize that, because when you're evaluating your situation or circumstance, as that's running back to that house thing, you can water your house, but just because you water your house doesn't mean you're watering your city, right?
Right.
But the thing is, what's the point of your house being taken care of when the city's on fire?
Right.
You know, people are going through this and going through that. A piece of your heart's not just desiring for you to be okay,
yeah,
but for everybody to be better, moving upwards, going to with fruitfulness. And obviously you can't control everybody's life and this, that, and the third. And you can't make decisions for everybody either, because that's also the part of the burden that you have to bear yourself, is that I can't save everybody.
100%.
Right. And so,
and I think it's
recognize
in flesh, by the way, that you were thinking of, not experience, but like it's ego and flesh that tell you that, like,
and I think with that, sometimes, because we got like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z or this, that, and the third, and some people, though they people say, oh, they're cartoons or they're anime, this, that, and the third, there is some pictures and emotions that speak to viewers, right?
Yes.
Or whether it be a movie or this, that, and the third. And sometimes we find this place within us where we say, we raise our hands and we say, I'll be the one.
Yeah.
You know, I'm willing, and I'll start to sacrifice. And sometimes we picture this honorable death that we may have, or this, that, and the third, because of the result of our sacrifices. But sometimes that ego comes in because sometimes people can say, you know, I didn't ask for your sacrifices.
Yeah.
And then when they say, I didn't ask for your sacrifices, or I didn't ask you to do this, or ask you to do that, you know, you kind of question your domain, your dominion in the lives of others.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's I don't know if this will be the right analogy, but hopefully it comes across correct. Instead of putting on the cape,
Yeah.
put on the armor.
Yeah.
Because the cape is giving a sign that to save the day.
Yeah.
The armor is a sign to play a part.
Yeah. That's good.
Right.
Yeah.
And so therefore that allows us to reevaluate how we surrender our life in the lives of others.
Yeah.
Because it gives us the point and the line to say, I love you, but this is your responsibility. Or I love you, do you need help?
Yeah.
Or I love you, this is my responsibility, but I would like to contribute
Yes.
this. They can reject, they can accept. And so then you find a specific part that you play with the community,
100%.
whether it's a small or whether it can be bigger. But obviously we try to scale or go from small to big, not big to bigger, without even going small, because there's fundamentals that come with relationships in general.
Absolutely.
So
it's the same as watering that plant. You will have to watch it grow, and you can't tell it how it's going to grow. You can't determine when it's going to grow. You can't do it. It's that same relationship that's small beginning right there. Is that, you know?
And the sorry about that. The specific area of focus that I see here is financial, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so because you have a lot of people going through a lot of things at this point in time, right?
Oh, yeah.
And some people it's going to be health. Some people it's just going to be housing. Some people it's going to be this. It's going to be that, and the third, right?
Yeah.
And some people only have they have time to do certain things, but because where they are within themselves, they have a difficulty with managing what they have.
Yeah.
And who they have in their life.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the part of where it's, you know, also coming from this small area and moving outwards, because you have those who are nearest to you that also have their situations. You have those who are further out from them that have their situations, but they still have your heart. You have people who are further out from them who have their situations, but they still have a place in your heart.
Right.
And so it comes with, you know, sometimes it's a sacrifice to be patient, man. And when you can hear everybody's cries, but you can't put on the cape, you can put on the cape.
Yep.
But it's like, you can't guarantee that Superman's going to be the same.
100%.
Because sometimes you can put on that cape and you how Superman is written out.
Yeah.
Superman can never be you.
Yeah.
You know? And what I mean by that is he's fake.
He's bulletproof.
You're real.
Yeah.
Right? And so they'll give Superman this glory, that this, that, and the third, da, 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 da. He can never throw a rock as hard as you can, because he can't even touch one.
Yeah.
So you're the one who's going to have to make the sacrifices that Superman can never make, because Superman would, you know, it's not you.
Yeah.
So the difficult part sometimes is when you hear so many cries.
Yeah.
But you only have so much resource. Or you have some resources, but you may not know how to maximize your resources. Or your relationships with your resources, you may not have the best relationship, not because of what you have done, but maybe the people who you have with the resources, maybe they may not feel as close to you or this other person as, such and such, right?
Right.
So, but you'll find that as you do have time, not everything is brought together the way that you may want, right? But this also comes in part of us making the sacrifices or these decisions, because instead of observing and recognizing the truth, now it's applying what we believe to get certain results or certain experiences that we can break into or access more knowledge or more resources or more this, that, and a third, to not just feed that taste that we were talking about, the desire for the result, but to tend to those who are near to you, those who are outside, those who, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we want to help others too.
Yeah, but you can't unless you increase your capacity. But you have to recognize what your capacity even is first. That's why you build to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Can't give people what you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
If your car is empty on like gas and stuff, it's not gonna go anywhere as much time as you try to, unless you do what? Fill it up.
Mm-hmm. And to take action later, that's just what happens. What do you call the baby that it's not born on time? It's I'm not for certain, but there's this expectation for the baby to be born at a certain period of time, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes with us as people, we make decisions later when we could have been making sacrifices earlier.
Yeah.
Though you didn't know everything, when you make the certain sacrifices, you become aware of some things, you get some experiences. Sometimes you find out what to do after you experience what you shouldn't have done.
Right.
And so I'm trying to remember the angle I was going at with this. People outside, love, sacrifice. Yeah, I'm not sure where I was at with that one.
Experience things you shouldn't have done. Tip of your tongue.
Yeah.
It's on the tip of your tongue. It was fire.
Fire that got put out. Yeah.
Happens, dude. That means so much.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's the thing where I'm walking with the Lord right now.
Yeah, come on.
Is the combination of making decisions to get certain results, not absolute results, because I don't know the absolute answer to get the absolute results.
Yeah.
And this is not a perfect society where everybody falls in the place of my own will, right?
Of outcomes.
But for me to make decisions to get different results, make certain sacrifices to get different results.
That's it.
Participate in certain risks to get different results, right? Doing that while also knowing I can make decisions to contribute to others, but I can't make decisions for others, right?
For others, right? 100%.
I can't undo certain circumstances for others, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now it is for me to continue this way in a direction while somebody else may be suffering in a certain way, right? And with this, there's like certain areas where it's like I have to trust God. It's like I'm not discontinuing me being there for them. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's more so knowing that this right here, this amount, is what I can contribute
Yes.
in this season with what they have without sacrificing everything that I have,
Yeah.
which is going to be contributing to somebody else in my life as well.
And that's learned through
You know?
experience, right? Like
Mhm.
you
Right.
have
Oh
to
yeah, yeah,
fall
yeah.
on your
Oh
face
yeah,
doing that
yeah.
too many times to learn, like, all right, now I know for a fact, like I just got this much left. But this gets
Mhm.
activated simply if you ask. Like there's the real difference, I think, versus me, like I feel almost like a guilt because I know I can, but I shouldn't, help.
And it's coming with this management, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where it's also like, you know, if there is a understanding that I have that is incorrect, this is where I put this expectation on the Lord
Hmm.
to give me that understanding so that I can register different circumstances and situations, so that with an honest heart I know how to manage the gifts or the blessings that I have been given in order to contribute to somebody else in need, right?
Yes.
And so now it's okay. So it's now it's identifying that those who I do love have certain situations where it may be their fault or it may not be their fault, right? But also I have only limited resources in a certain manner, right? Or in a
Yeah.
certain category, right? And so making sacrifices so that I can eventually tend to them and their circumstances as well, right? Meantime, between time, they are still dealing with their circumstance, and I'm dealing with this place of it's managing. It's as if you hear crying in one ear, right?
Yeah.
But you hear understanding in the left,
Yeah.
crying in your right and understanding in your left. Meaning
Yeah.
that you hear their situation and you hear how they feel about the situation, but in the middle of you hear your desire to tend to this situation, but then your left ear comes the understanding of where you are at in your situation and what needs to be done in order to tend to others in their situation without causing your situation to be put out of uh how to say this, to be sacrificed,
Yeah.
you know. And so it's like, ah, this is going to be a weird way to say it, but you haven't heard that saying where I could give you a fish, but
Mhm.
I can teach you how to fish. Which
Right.
one do you want?
I want to
I
learn.
can give you fish now
Hmm.
and you had to fish for now, or I
Hmm.
can teach you how to fish, and when I'm gone you know how to get fish,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So and this is where we find some of us in a situation like this is that right now I can give you all I have, right? But that leaves me in a situation where now I'm in need.
Yeah.
And I just gave you everything I had so that you can take care of you, but now who would take care of me, right?
Right.
So now I said, okay, I can do that, or I can continue to be there in a certain form
Yeah.
to contribute in a way, but instead of you being that one person, as I continue to grow and to learn and acquire in a financial aspect the needs for myself and also the required amounts to contribute to those around me, right?
Yeah.
uh One second. ah Now not only can I give grace to them in a financial aspect,
Right.
but now I can give the understanding or the knowledge to those who are trying to do what I'm doing as well.
You're setting the example.
Right.
Yeah.
So by me taking action, I can tell people about hearing the cry
Hmm.
and hearing the understanding
Yeah.
at the same time, right? I can tell them about the discipline it takes in certain aspects to not just throw everything out in an instant.
Because it's
I
easy.
heard somebody, yeah, I heard somebody say at some point in time, it's just an example. Don't let somebody's urgency be your emergency,
That's good. Yeah.
because, you know, some is case by case basis, but some situations, some people themselves, as you've said before, they've made decisions, they've made sacrifices, but they didn't evaluate, they didn't observe, they didn't look into, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, they're dealing with a certain situation, right?
Yeah.
But some of the situations can be resolved by them taking time to do that,
Yeah. It's very
right?
important, you know,
Mhm.
like that
Right.
mindfulness to just simply like look at your life. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not asking you to do anything other than look at your own life.
Hmm.
And then from that, take the time because you deserve it. You know what I mean? You deserve the time to be taken on you to see what you really are, what you're really like, what you're willing to deal with, what you want to have in your life, what you don't want to have in your life, what all of it, every aspect of you deserves to be found out by you. Understanding that is a process that's usually uncomfortable for a period of it is hard to even simply step into, but that's what it takes is that analyzing it, bringing that thought process with the action, because you're probably on one or the other right now. You don't want to be in the middle and think to then come with those results. You don't want to analyze your life because obviously that requires a certain level of exposure of things you're maybe even ashamed of yourself. And like it's not even about it getting out, it's about you looking at yourself and being happy with what you see, and then getting used to what you see. Because if you're not happy at first because you know all your own dirty little secrets and stuff, you got to learn to be, because even with those you are always you, and there's always more, and it's not over yet, and you got to just keep unfolding because you're going to unravel anyways. Wouldn't you rather know like, or have an idea of like how, instead of just like chaotically and full of fear, wondering what the next moment holds? If you're not taking time to do this process, if you're not taking time to look inside, nothing out there, like TVs, everything is off, like doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. Close your eyes, be where you're at, breathe, pray, establish that connection, because that's what matters. That's how you even get to the next part. That's how these two even meet, is because that middleman said, hey, listen, I want to show you the results. And that's what happens. And those results can be scary. Those results can be everything you never wanted to see, could be everything you've ever wanted to see, could be your life as truthfully blunt as possible. And you're not sure if that's what you want, but that's what you got. Because what you got is what you got, which is the whole point of recognizing your capacity. Because if you don't even know what you got, you can't expect to give. And if you can't give, it's because you're not sure of what you got. And it all starts there inside. It's just that practicing of mindfulness and prayer, to be honest. Prayer, 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 prayer,
Yeah.
prayer,
Prayer, prayer, prayer, prayer,
prayer,
prayer.
prayer, prayer, prayer. I'm not even lying on
Yeah.
the, like, I'm not even joking. That is where it's at when you want the two to meet, because the machine meets the spirit. And I'm telling you what, it starts to groove differently. Like, I'm like,
Yeah. I told the Lord, I told him, I said, if you want me to love them, and by them, it's just like people in general,
yes,
right?
100%.
The way that you want me to love them, I told him, I need you to allow me to see them like you see them.
Yes.
I need you to give your perspective to me so I can understand where you're coming from,
Yeah.
that I may interpret them as precious and as valuable because I understand.
Yeah.
You know, for me to act and not understand, it's like I'm following orders. But for me to act because I understand, it's like I'm doing it because I value.
Yes.
I can follow steps. I can do things by steps, but if I don't understand, there's a certain level of connection to the thing I'm doing things for, right?
100%.
You can have a boss that says to do certain things here and there, and you do it because the boss told you, but the thing is, you have a relationship with what you're being told to do versus who you're doing it for or to, right?
100%.
Then it's another thing for when your boss tells you to do something, and the thing that you're doing, who you're doing it for, you care about the person, right? So you're not just excited that you're not just knowing that you know how to do this. You're saying, oh, like I
get to.
I look forward to doing this.
Yes. 100%.
So there's this whole world to these decisions, sacrifices, risks, watering your house versus the city. There's a whole bigger picture to this thing. And in this discussion that we're having, we're just talking about a specific slice of the bologna that we're at, right?
Yes.
This is BOLOGNA, right? So, but obviously, when it comes to the stories that we've gone through, there's communication and asking, and the times of wonder, the times of tears, the times of despair.
Yes.
And there's this, he makes life worth living.
100%.
He makes life worth living. Like, the reason to see value, if I could speak for you and me both, the reason why we see a point in the distance is because he's there.
Yeah.
It matters to him. And because it matters to him, it matters to me.
100%.
So therefore, that's why I'm going to give more. Because it matters to him. I'm going to wake up.
100%.
And I'm going to agree.
Yes.
Because if it didn't matter to him, I would feel like, oh, I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
I'm wasting my time. Because if it didn't matter to him, I would deal with other psychological things within me.
100%.
And then who would help me get out of that state if it didn't matter to him? Somebody trying to get me out of that state when my heart belongs to him. Then I'd be like, who are you? Then they would have to deal with a whole different process of trying to get me to da.
That's them
when I have a point. And then we find out the roles are now flipped.
100%.
Because it was me trying to get you out of one way, but now it would be you trying to get me out of one way. But maybe you don't even function like that within your own self on a normal basis, 100%. That's a whole other conversation for a whole.
Yeah, at the same time though, that's relationship. That's relationship.
Yeah.
It goes back and forth. We water each other. We recognize, we notice when one is not growing or when something is halted. We speak kindness and love to one another to make sure they feel nurtured before we even decide to take action to step out of the room, which personally would be that big step to go water the world. But you can look at it as leaving like your homie or something from like wherever you lived and stuff. They can look at that like he's gone, he's abandoned me. Or they can look at that as in, I'm so happy he's doing what he believes he needs to do, and he's confident in me to be okay. But there's people who are not going to look at your heart that way. They'd rather not, and it's so sad and deceitful. You know what I mean? It's so sad and deceitful to believe that like And I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying that, because there are situations. I'm not, because
Right.
I'm honestly being just honest here. There are
Yeah.
situations where people truly abandon and give no cares. And it's so my heart shatters, because Lord, you made me see them how you see them. And when I see somebody can do that to them, when I recognize somebody can just like not care about somebody that means so much to me, and they don't have to do anything to be that, but you could care less. That shows me just like not just an understanding of why I am how I am, which Lord, thank you for the eyes to see, but a purpose in why I am how I am. Because Lord, you gave me your heart to feel. And when I can not just see them, but feel them, it's like I have the hardest time complaining about like myself. You know what I mean? In like a real sense of like, woe is me. Like I always try to turn around and fill somebody else's glass while I'm like pouring myself out, in the sense of like complaining or venting. You're the only person I really vent to, Zach. Like, but it's because like, you know what I mean? It's stuff that I know needs to escape, and
Mhm.
it's stuff that I know is healthy to communicate with like somebody.
Mhm.
You know, you have to have somebody. It's so important to at least have somebody. And
Mhm.
then other than that, like I have the Lord, and that's always more than enough, is what I recognize. That's been my mom's like theme of like the month. Especially because my mom was actually on an episode of one of my podcasts. Fun fact, she had a Mother's Day episode.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and she talked about her life in Mexico and everything, and how she's just so grateful to have everything that she has, period, the end, because she remembers and recognizes and knows what less, less than nothing feels like. And having 11 brothers and sisters and stuff, and like you barely get what's left. You get what's left of what's left, kind of like living. And you grew to just like learn to be okay with certain things being how they were, but not because you were like sad about it. It's just because you've accepted your place and where you were at this present moment in time. Now, when you can take the mature step to accept where you're at this moment in time, whether it's good or bad, especially if it's bad, listen to this, especially if it's bad, listen to this. If you can take the maturity to accept what you have right here, right now, then you will carry it with you to the next thing and value whatever it is so much more, which will then make you try that much harder to be your best self, because you remember you're not hurt, but you remember what it's like to be so much less. And that is like the gift experience gives you, is your memory. And that's the blessing God gives you when he puts you through it, because he's allowing you to look for it, allowing you to look for that meaning, that purpose. And until you accept it, until you know what it's about without fully knowing what it's about, but knowing you're going to learn each day as you just hold on to it. It's like you get so familiar with something like your phone, you don't have to like, if I put my phone in a phone bucket and then like I was feeling out for like my phone with other phones, I will probably know which phone is my phone. Why? I've established something with this thing. I've established like I remember how it feels all the time. Same thing goes with your experiences. If you choose to accept whatever went down, even the bad stuff, honest, unless there's a moment in time to let it go, but you will recognize when that moment is. It depends on your life, what's going on with you and stuff. But if you carry it with you, not in pain, but to hold on to honor, because that's your life, that's your experience. If you hold on to this experience, as time goes on, you become so much more familiar with it. You become so much more familiar with how it feels, or what it looks like, what's where the buttons are, how to turn it on and off, just without looking at it. You don't have to anymore. Now that you're so familiar, now that you've recognized your life in this moment, whatever it is, good or bad, and you've accepted it and you've held on to it for this long, it's you're ready to let it go. But the way you're letting it go is such a beautiful distribution of a life well lived, because you knew. what to do when things weren't easy, and you knew to hang on, not for yourself, not for yourself at all. A lot of people grow to like average dreams, like have family, kids, a legacy, leave something.
A legacy.
Yeah. It is those experiences, those moments, those like fingertips on the edge, like I'm about to slip times, where if you are able to pocket them, get familiar with them, accept them, you will then decide not to let it go, to use it. And that is where testimony is built. Because you decided not woe is me, not this is bad, I'm going to drop it, to hang on to it in a way that was not like, every time you guys talk about this, I just feel my emotions literally getting. No, I want you to just hang on to it. I want you to just feel it at least once a day, you know, get familiar with what it is. Look at it every now and then. Look at the things you didn't notice before. That's important. You're going through some shenanigans right now. Hang on to it for a minute. Look at it every now and then and notice things you didn't notice there before. Like a homie who was trying to help you out when you were going through it, but you ignored because you were just so into the situation, but you're going to feel like nobody was there. Or a phone call you missed from like your parents while they were trying to reach out to you to give you money because they noticed on social media you posted how broke you were or something like that. Or your kids when they're coming up to you and they want to show you a school project, but then every time you ask them to do something, it seems like they're not paying attention to you, but that's because they're giving you the same lack of attention you're giving to them. These moments that get you some ways, hang on and then use it. And the difference in your life is it's what makes life. It's living. It's a living, because we're so ashamed. And I think as social media starts to expose everybody so much more, as well as everybody exposing themselves in certain ways, but like not in proper ways. You notice that? Like, how come the thing that trends is always like, I have to either start dancing on TikTok or like take my shirt off? My shirt off posts on social media get so much more likes than like, I'm like, hey, yo, here's my podcast choice episode of the day. Like, really, for me, like real value.
My podcast choice.
And then like I post like a picture like, yeah, I just finished like exercising or something, or like I've been doing this a minute, because I don't post a lot of shirtless pictures, to be honest. Like every now and then, sure, but like when I do, that's when I get all the attention. I'm like, y'all have been on Facebook this whole time, how come I didn't notice you on like anything else? But like that's where the attention is.
Because there was, got certain friends on the Facebook versus what they got on TikTok or this and third. They probably see, but just keep on scrolling.
But it's that attentiveness. It's that paying attention to, what you got going on, what you had going on, what you let go already. Is it something you can pick back up? Is it something you find yourself picking back up? And are you using it? Above all things, with your life, in your life, are you using it? Like, that's the real thing. Am I using my life? Like, or am I just like existing? I hope I'm using it, because nothing's wasted. Nothing. And when I use that statement in just my circumstance, then I am forced to look at it, because I'm like, oh, okay, because I feel like this was a waste of time. Let's look at like January 14th, 2000, like whatever. And then like I'm looking for the whys. But that's not because I'm looking for a finger to point at somebody. I went through this because at this time this person said this, and then I had to do. No, I'm looking at it simply to really see where I was when I didn't know where I was while I was going through what I was going through. Like we all do in our own lives, because we're all living it differently. I just simply wanted to know, as I look back at my own life, like, all right, Lou, were you sleeping on this? Were you as nice as you should have been? Did you do what you know you'd be proud of yourself doing? Or did you make a mistake? Now, how am I evaluating myself making a mistake? Am I mad at myself for making a mistake? Am I compassionate about myself making a mistake? Am I recognizing how I'm even recognizing myself making that mistake? But like we said, we're overthinking. And this isn't overthinking. This is just me explaining while I was in this thought process, because I'm in action now, thoughts that were on the daily. That's 365 days a year for 3 years. This is me super
One of those
summarized.
years is
Even
360, 366. One of those years.
it was
Somewhere.
wild. I
Leap
don't know
year.
what happened.
Leap year.
It's another dimension. But me just super summarizing that process that was just ongoing as each day went on in pieces. It's all a puzzle piece, But it's one of those, like, if I were to make a puzzle, it'd be like a dope interchangeable one, or you could change like what the puzzle looks like. Not like a flip on the other side, but like it makes one thing, and then like you can also make another thing if you move that way. So it's like multiple puzzles in one thing. That's my brain. That's how I feel sometimes. But like it's dope because no matter what, it makes something. There's nothing ever missing. I'm not missing anything. I used to feel like I was missing something. I went through some like shit. Like I had like a miscarriage twice. I used to feel like I was missing something. But this opportunity, I get to look back and then see, like I was explaining, shows me just how wrong I was for feeling that, but shows me at the same time just how okay it is to have felt that compassion. That's what a lesson you learn when you're really looking back intentionally on like what you want, where you want to go, where you want to be. You have all these things in mind as you're looking back. And it's wild, but moving forward in action is like, this is a whole new race for me. Because well, I mean, we're young, dude. We're 27. You're 27 as well. You're gonna be yeah. So I was like, but that's babies. We're still in our 20s. We still got so much life. I still have my next like glow up because I'm Hispanic. So we just get better with the age.
Better.
Message is brought to you by my people. I'm just kidding.
My people.
But like for real, we're so young in the process. And I think because of our mindsets currently, and this is currently, tomorrow, Lou, even that short term, I don't know what it's gonna look like. Am I gonna still think the same? Am I still gonna have the same mentality, drive? I could have been in this mode and asked myself that same question about whatever that tomorrow looked like before I even recognized I moved into this one. That's how quickly life changes. You know what I mean? That's how quickly it takes an instant. It takes a moment. It takes a hello. It takes a reaching out. It takes a being reached to. It takes an accepting help. It takes giving help. It takes community, to be honest, because your influence that surrounds you impacts you, because that's the shell you're allowing yourself to be in. But we're blessed to see the shell and just want other people to see it. You know what I mean? Like, I can see this, and I handle things so weird in the sense of like the world is crashing all around me, but I can be so calm and like Job be like, God's still good. Like, you are allowed to say this sucks, but how are you saying it?
Right.
This sucks, but God's still good. He knows. He's over there like, but you're stronger than you think. And you're like,
and that's another conversation right there, is that some people are strong, it's just they don't want to be.
come on.
And that's understandable.
1,000% understand.
That's understandable.
I feel
you know that you can be and you don't want to be, and that in there is something in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because that could just simply mean that you are tired.
Yeah, that's okay.
And so
it's okay to get tired. And it's important to recognize what tired looks like to you, because I think a lot of times now we mix tired up with depressed. We mix tired up with unhappy. We mix tired up with hate even, you're grumpy at that point. Like we mix tired up with bad, like it's bad to be tired. No, no. Even like the Lord rested, like it is written, rested. Like you are allowed to, for sure, take a break when you feel necessary. And only you can tell yourself when that is, per se. You can have the opinions of others coming at you. You can have the influence of friends noticing you and being like, hey, yo, you've been like a horse lately. You need to just like go back to the stables and chill for a second. You know what I mean? Because they recognize you. They know your patterns. They know how you are. They're not telling you how to live your life. They're just caring for you because they're noticing something you may not notice then. That's
while you're busy moving in motion on the inside, some people are looking at the outside and seeing you walking funny. Yeah. Some people are just the ones going to be observing you from the outside because you're so busy, analyzing, observing everything else. They have an opportunity to really see how you're doing versus how you were doing.
Yes, and I've noticed, at least myself, in this stage where it's thought process, I know I am so much worse at receiving any sort of advice. So for the last 3 years, listen, I'm sorry if
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry if I seem a certain way, but I promise you, my brain was all over the place on every topic so many times. That's why I had a hard time receiving, because you gave me more homework at the same time, and I don't hold that against you, but that's literally just what happened to my brain. This season, or action is first, when I'm receiving any sort of anything, I'm so much more like open to it. I'm so much more like, oh, thank you. Absolutely. I'm going to check it out. I'll try it. I appreciate it. This guy, of course, appreciated it. Like, I'm like, not like this. I just know for a fact I tickled some people a certain way on like how I receive. I'm not trying to be like a know-it-all. Far from. I just know in my walk, my experience, where I'm going, what I'm doing, and I know how bad that simply just sounded. Like,
but we're working on it.
Working on it, always. What was going on? And then like a super third party like interference. Oh, well, you should try this. And I'm over here like, you don't even know what happened. Like that's where I don't try to discount it. That's why I say more homework, because I'm receiving it. And I'm over here like, where did he get that? But he came completely like left turn out of the corner and was like, hey, yo, I got an idea. And I'm like,
yeah,
what? You weren't even.
You're not even in this volume.
You're not.
What are you doing?
And that's the only reason why, like, I would give back any sort of like vibes. So I apologize if I did for the last while. But if you notice me lately, I've been a lot more like, yes, of course, I'll try that. Why not? Because I'm on action right now. Because I've already met this guy. And this whole thing, this whole time period, I'm accepting as experience. That's experience points if this is like a video game. You ding, and then like my bar is all built up now. So while I'm doing this, I have this bar of experience to go where I'm going to receive advice and stuff way better because of my confidence and compassion for myself based off of experience, because of the fact that I already learned through this step. And it's not that I didn't want to receive, it's just I knew where I was going, where you didn't necessarily ever ask. So that's probably why I would like give it back to you in a weird way. Like, you're just trying to give me input, and that's what it is. It's like you didn't listen, but you just really wanted to tell me something, and I get it, trust me, I get it, but I didn't need it, nor did I like necessarily want it, which is fine. That was that guy. This guy is listening to you. This guy. He's so much better because he's on action first. So yeah, but
Jesus saves, bro.
Jesus saves, bro. And once even this, and I know this needs community. This needs people to keep me on track, because I'm not going based off that. This needs people to come out the corner and be like, hey, you should go that way. This needs people to like simply, whoa, camera focus.
Yeah, right. All right.
This needs people to help. I need help. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I thought you were going to say it again. I thought you were going to be like, I need help.
No, but what, like, I have no issue, nor did I then, I just knew in knowing myself, I know I didn't receive very well, but I promise you I received. This side, I'm receiving much better. And I'm still figuring out how that's going to look when it comes to taking this like third party advice or action or whatever. And I'm not going to lie, it's been pretty decent so far. Not that I regret anything in this phase or in this season of life where like I was kind of iffy on third party, because it's just like people telling you what they feel you need to know without knowing you very well, because you know your relationships that you have with people, you know which ones are like actually like paying attention to like what you're doing in a way that like is caring for you and like, oh, I hope he's okay, or you know those people. But when those aren't even the ones coming at you and you're like,
What are you talking about? Right.
yeah, I'm solid. And it's not a facade, it's not trying to act like you're okay if you're not. Never. I am so transparent with my feelings if you simply ask, but it's none of that. This season, it's uh, me stepping out of a comfort zone. You know what I mean? I know for me, it's a step forward, so these fools can meet, because it's a dance, and I want to see some results of what's been earned at this point in time. I want to see that XP bar of experience be used, because that's what it's there for. It's not there to just to look like, hey, look, I have a full bar. No, that sucks, bro. Why is it so full now? Like
It's like you gotta.
it's an achievement to fill it up, but then it's like it's another achievement to then use it and bring it back down.
Yeah.
Because
It's
then,
like Tekken or Mortal Kombat. You got the bar filled up. If you've never used it, it's like great. You got the bar filled up. Now you're dead.
yeah, you wasted
You
your
didn't want to
effort.
use exclusive combo.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, both bars hit, and I'm ready to use
Yeah, but
this.
it's
Like
it.
that's the
Exclusive imagery.
and then I go back into this. And I think this is just a lifelong thing that's going to go down. And at some point, it's going to be like this for like a season or two, which is even better. I hope I ride this for a while. But I'll tell you what, I've been through this. I feel myself going through this. I'm excited for this. I need to use that. So that means I can start back over and do it again and keep building and understanding this is my life. This is how it rolls. And sometimes it'll be a different order. Action first, and then what happened? Come back. It doesn't matter how you do it. What matters is simply that you do it. And that's an inside step to even fill up that bar, because it begins with your experience and whatever that looks like. You feel me, Doug?
I feel you, bro.
I think honestly, unless you have anything else specifically, we covered so much, and I already know the title of this episode. Well, I don't know off the top of my dome. I'm gonna re-listen to it, but there was something we said that I heard, and I'm like, this is gonna be the title of the episode. That for sure. But no, I absolutely love our conversations. I love how we can be so open and talking. I'm happy we finally had the opportunity to actually record this, because we had that test run before and it was 54 minutes of nothing but value
Value.
that got taken. It wasn't meant to be. Y'all weren't ready. So this one for sure. I appreciate you, Zach. I love your face. And
Love your face, bro.
you got anything else? Any send-offs? Any last bit of advice for our listeners?
Advice to listeners. The story of Jesus Christ is not just a story. It's history.
Come on.
And I would encourage, if you don't know him, to ask him to be a part of your life, and to get to know what he has done, and the works that he has done, and how you can benefit from that.
100%.
If you do know him, I would encourage you to develop your relationship with him. When you get married, in a sense, you don't just let everything else go wild.
Yeah.
you know. So if you're in a relationship with him, ask yourself how I can be a better friend to him, because he's been the best friend to you.
Best friend.
If there's a disagreements that you have with that statement and you're in a relationship with him, spend time with him and talk to him about your disagreements. Let him know how you feel, and go into that place. Not everybody's in the same season.
Mm-mm.
And just because other people have fruitfulness and are getting results, it doesn't mean that you should, how do I say this, be intimidated by their results of fruitfulness.
Yeah, no comparing.
Your variables in your situation may not be their variables in their situation. And a certain time or season may not be your time and season. And so when you may focus on your neighbors versus focusing on your relationship with the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, observing maybe your situation or your season, when you do that, and you can cause some stunted development
Yeah,
in your decision making.
that's good.
Um, and I think the last thing, patience plays a part. Application plays a part. And if the application is incorrect, evaluation plays a part.
Oof.
So patience, application, and reevaluation.
Yes, I love it,
So yeah, I think that could be it for now.
dude. You're the best. I appreciate you. I love your face, and that was an amazing send off. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Love you, bro. Appreciate you, man.